getting started. It's getting started. You know that song? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a lovely one out there, a sunny one, as it is nice and sunny today. Let's go ahead and dive on into some Scott Walker. We're going to listen to the first track off of his album Tilt, his 12th studio album, released in 1995. That will be Farmer in the City. This is recommended by several, and I do mean several people, but also this reaction is sponsored as well by Graham. So Graham, thank you so much for the supports and the song choice. And this is also recommended by JJ Key, Edward Meredith, David Copson, Sheldon House, Second Try. There's a lot of you. Gaia Eternal, Sylvain Dupuy, and the list goes on, but it's hard to find like who's saying what, because sometimes people say a song, but that doesn't necessarily mean they recommend the song. Mega Freddy, Cutthroat Jake. It actually goes on quite a bit. Eddie Time 4 years ago. So thank you all so much for the recommendation. Now, as someone who's familiar with Scott 2, 3, and 4, and a couple other songs here and there, and whose favorite is Scott 4. That's my favorite. I've heard a lot about his later development, but I've never listened to anything from his later period. So I'm curious to see what the changes are. I'm kind of expecting a David Sylvian-esque change in the sense of in the later years, the music becomes much more abstract and much different. I'm kind of expecting something similar based on what I've heard from people. But we're about to find out. Let's go ahead and dive into it. We will talk about it after. Oh, and in the parentheses, it's also called Remembering Pasolini. Here we go.
Do I hear 21, 21, 21? I'll give you 21, 21.
That's a haunted auction.
Do I hear 21, 21, 21? I'll give you 21, 21, 21.
I'm so curious to see where this goes.
This night you are mistaken. I'm a farmer in the city. Dark farmhouses against the sky. Every night I must wonder why.
It's like a soliloquy in theater. Very operatic.
Harness on the left nail keeps wrinkling and wrinkling. Then higher above me is
He sounds so different here as well.
Can't go by a man from Rio. Go by a man from Vigo.
Of the drums.
Can't go by a man from Ostia. Hey, Nenito, remember that dream? We talked about it so many times.
The strings are dark.
Do I hear 21?
The guitar
21,
lightly
21.
picks things up there.
21, 21, 21. Do I hear 21, 21, 21? I'll give you 21, 21, 21. And if I'm not mistaken, we can search from far to far. Dark farmhouses against our eyes. Every night I must realize harness on the left nail keeps withering and withering, then higher above me.
This really feels like a one-man performance on the stage.
Can't go by a man in this shirt. Go by a man in that shirt. Can't go by a man with brain grass. Go by his long I guess. And I used to be a citizen, and I never felt the pressure. I knew nothing of the horses, nothing of the thresher. Follow, take me with you. It was a journey of a life.
That towing of the strings is so heavy down there.
Do I hear 21, 21, 21? I'll give you 21, 21, 21. Do I hear 21, 21, 21? I'll give you 21.
So hollow.
21, 21.
Okay, while this is a complete change, in a sense, from the Scott Walker that I know, from my Scott Walker, it's not as abstract as I thought it was going to be. It wasn't as out there as I thought it was going to be. But where we've moved away from the suave storyteller with a rich voice and romanticism in his leanings and poetry, here we've gone into something incredibly bleak, definitely more morose. I won't say grim right off the bat, but definitely slowed and dredging through the lowest of the low. And I think that this change is really interesting with his sound and with his voice, because I gotta tell you, obviously same singer, but he doesn't sound really anything like the Scott Walker that I'm familiar with. Gone are those light, airy notes. Once again, still with the luxurious voice, but here it's really brought down into the depths. If I could relate this, I'm just going to use David Sylvian because he's who I'm familiar with, right? This is kind of like moving towards the Blemish period, where a lot of people see that album as that's the change and, the change in direction. I still actually really enjoy Blemish. It's not one of my favorites, but I enjoy it. I'm kind of, at least with the first track, getting a similar idea here where it is a change, but it's not so far removed or, so out there that it's hard or difficult to listen to. I like how hollow and empty everything is. It's primarily his voice and those strings drag. Now, He's always sung with those strings. But like I said before, they're romantic and fanciful, and they were dancing, right? They're moving. Here, they're dragging, just dredging the bottoms of these oceans. You have little moments where like the guitar will come in the chorus and just kind of, and I'm being pressed to say chorus, and I don't want to say it lightens things up, but it just adds a different tone that kind of sparks out of the dark there. I also really like the way that the drums were played. I like how they never came in as like a constant beat. They never continued on when they entered. They just rumbled and tumbled in on the toms, and then we're gone. Tumbled in a little bit, and we're gone. I like that. I think that added a nice bit of drama, but a bit of rhythm to that specific drama. I think that this was a really cool track. I'd be curious to hear more from this album, because I really expected this to be like completely different than it was. I really enjoyed that. And I still think it's crazy to me that Scott sounds nothing like how I'm familiar with him. And as I was mentioning throughout the song, it really felt like a sole actor on stage at a theater. And this was their solo piece, their soliloquy, whatever that may be, and whatever they may be speaking about. Let's see if we can figure that out. Well, I don't know if I can figure it out on this one, but I'm sure going to try. Okay. Do I hear 21? I'll give you 21. Do I hear 21? I'll give you 21. Of course, like an auction. Okay. This night you are mistaken. I'm a farmer in the city. Dark farmhouses against the sky. Every night I must wonder why. Harness on the left nail keeps wrinkling. Then higher above me, Esau. Can't go buy a man from Rio. Go buy a man from Vigo. Can't go buy a man from Ostia. Hey, Neneto, remember that dream? We talked about it so many times. Then the auction happens again. If I'm not mistaken, we can search from farm to farm. Dark farmhouses against our eyes. Every night I must realize harness on the left nail keeps withering and withering. Can't go buy a man in this shirt. Can't go buy a man in that shirt. Can't go buy a man with brain grass. Go buy his long eye gas. And I used to be a citizen, and I never felt the pressure. I knew nothing of the horses, nothing of the thresher. Paolo, take me with you. It was a journey, or it was the journey of a life. I genuinely am not sure what the song is about, so we're gonna do some digging. So let me go in here. Pasolini. This may give us a hint, right? Pasolini was an Italian poet, film director, writer, actor, and playwright. He's considered one of the defining public intellectuals in the 20th century Italian history, influential as an artist and political figure. Okay, he's known for directing The Gospel According to St. Matthew. The film was a trilogy of life, and Salo, or 120 Days of Sodom. Okay, I've heard of this movie, and I've heard of its extremities, for lack of a better word. So he directed this movie. Okay. A controversial personality due to his straightforward style, his legacy remains contentious, openly gay, while also an advocate for heritage language revival, cultural conservatism, and Christian values in his youth. Became an avowed Marxist shortly before the end of World War II. Unsolved, extremely brutal abduction, torture. Okay. At Ostia in November 1975 prompted an outcry in Italy, where it continues to be a matter of heated debates. Recent leads, investigators suggest a contract killing by the Banda della Magliana, a criminal organization with close links to far-right terrorism, as the most likely cause. Okay, so that's why he mentions Ostia in the lyrics. Can't go buy a man from Ostia. Hey, Neneto, remember that dream. Let's look in here in the details. Let's see. Let's see if we can find out. The songs on the album have a decidedly bleak, forlorn, and funereal mood, of course. The lyrics are replete with arcane allusions and recondite wordplay and ellipses. The opening track, Farmer in the City, is subtitled Remember Pasolini. A few of the lyrics are appropriated from Norman McAfee's English translation of his poem, Uno dei tanti epilogi, one of the many epilogues, which was written in '69 for Pasolini's friend and protege, the scruffy young non-professional actor Neneto Divoli. Okay, so that's why Neneto's mentioned here. Okay. Throughout the song, the chants of Do I Hear 21 may be a reference to Divoli's age when he was drafted into and subsequently deserted from the Italian army. Okay, so this track is really like, you have to know, you definitely have to know the context and understand Pasolini to understand most of the references throughout this track. Because as it is, I couldn't tell you a thing about it. So I guess this is from Pasolini's point of view saying, hey, Nanetto, his protege, remember that dream that we talked about. Okay. We're putting things together. And it goes on into some of the other songs here as well. Okay. And I'm just curious. I just want to read this as well, just to see if there's anything specific here. It's a mixture of haunting vocals, orchestral music, chilling visions of Pasolini's death. He was murdered. We read about that as well. Walker takes some of the song's lyrics from the poem that we read about. Okay. Hold on. Pump the brakes. Walker takes some of the song's lyrics from a poem Paolo wrote to Nanetto Davoli, who became Pasolini's lover when he was 15. Ugh. Although their relationship only lasted a few years, they remained very close for the rest of Pierre's life. Okay. And another song about Pasolini and his death is Morrissey's You Have Killed Me. Okay. So this is really, you got to know the know. This is like a cameo. This is when you're watching a movie and some random character shows up in the movie and like the audience cheers and you're like, I don't know who that is. Who's that? It's like some cameo, and unless you're in the know, you don't know. So you better know before you go, or else you'll never know. Thank you so much for the recommendation. Thank you so much for sharing the suggestion with me. Graham, thank you for the support as well. Let me know what you guys thought of the track in the comments down below. Follow me in a few places that are somewhere in the description down below. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you all later. Bye, guys.